I'll be recording. And we are actually taking any questions. So by 1:30, 1:35, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we will address them at 1:30, 1:35 before we head back to the meeting, the main meeting room. I'm so excited to hear your talk. I think it's very relevant. I read up on your bio and that got me really excited. It's really relevant, I think. And, you know, it's something that needs to be said, that you can have both, that you can have motherhood and a strong family relationship and still succeed in your career. So absolutely. I am so excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited too. I'm here truly to inspire you. I hope that you all have your pens and your papers. I assume you read my bio. You know what my background is. I'll say, you know, this week I've been running a workshop and I've been sharing some fun anecdotes. So I'm a mom of two, a 5-year-old and almost a 3-year-old. One is sleeping in bed. Actually, they were coughing this week. So I'm living it. Hope he might come down and say hello, or he'll nap throughout the whole session. But in my past life, pre-motherhood, I traveled the world. I was an investigative journalist. I ran away from gangsters at gunpoint more than I would like to admit. When I think about it, I gave my parents a lot of headaches with the career choices I made. And a lot of my work has been really digging for truth. So sometimes it wasn't that glamorous. I was sitting in courthouses, poring over thousands of documents to bring award-winning stories that change the fabric of society. And I founded Pros&Babes 5 years ago when I had Jan. He was 4 months, and I realized we weren't talking about mothers and leadership. And yet we know that 43% of women leave full-time STEM employment after having kids. That's an American statistic. It hasn't been disproven in Canada. We don't have the same quality of data here. If you have other ones, feel free to add it in the chat. But I really want you to walk away with some actionable steps. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm using my talents as a truth digger and as the coordinator of the MoMBA program and the host, which we have tons of engineers in the program. It's a very process-driven approach to success and career and motherhood. So, you know, why am I talking about this? My mission and everything I do is to help professionals reach their full potential in caregiving and in their professional lives. So the first thing I'm actually going to ask you to do is to write down, you need to know, what does it mean for you to reach your full potential as a professional and caregiver? I'm assuming that some people here may be caring for elderly. When I do my presentations, I try to be, you know, inclusive. Even if you don't have kids right now, you will care for somebody in your life, and that will really impact your career, right? So write down, and if you want to share in the chat, that would really help and make this dynamic. Let's take 2 to 3 minutes to reach your full potential as a professional and as a caregiver, as an engineer and as a parent, as a, you know, geoscientist, as a geologist, as a STEM parent. What does that mean? What kind of parent are you? And I can put this in the chat to help you if you lack inspiration. What kind of professional are you? What brings you joy? What is your impact? What kind of money are you making? In 25 years, imagine your children or your nieces or nephew by your side. They will tell you, you made the world a better place as a STEM professional because you made this planet more livable for me because. In 25 years, if you're going to summarize the legacy of your life, what would that mean? So I'll give you a couple of moments to write that down. It is an extremely important question. We start with the end in mind. Let's be as strategic about our professional and personal lives as we can be about our finances, okay? So I will write that down. Marianne, can you confirm that it popped up in the chat?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I will give you 2 to 3 minutes to write that down. And if you're done, give me a couple of thumbs up in the comments, please, so I can get a sense of where people are at and if I can move forward. Thank you, Marianne. Excellent. Okay, we'll give us one more minute. This is an important question. I don't want to rush you. The writing you're going to do is going to be more important than the talking I do. You're welcome to share in the chat if you want to. For some people, this will be private. For anybody who wants to share, you're welcome to do it as well. I always love conversation and getting inspiration from others. Absolutely. Okay, so I will jump to my next question before I tell you why I think a dual career plan is important. Why do you think it might be important to have a dual career plan and the perspective of the conversation that we're having? What could be the benefits? That is also a very important question, right? What could be the benefits for you and your family to have? I will say, I will show you a template of a 25-year dual career plan that I work on, right? So how could it help you and your partner? We're assuming here in this equation that there's a partner, right? That you're planning together, that you all do a working household. Many engineers come in pairs as well. I've seen that happen 8 times out of 10. When I meet a mother engineer, often there's an engineer by her side. They met at the faculty. Does anybody want to jump on camera and tell me here, you know what, let's break the ice, Marianne, you've been chatty. So what do you think could be the benefits of a dual career plan?
Sure. So my partner is also an engineer, it's, I think financially, you both, when you're in engineering, you're always wanting more out of life. So you want to be, you enjoy challenges, and you enjoy the job that you're doing. So I don't think either of us would be, we would be reluctant to let that go. But you know, it gives you a source of learning always, which is really important. Financially, you're both also supporting each other, which is great. And you're in a way, you're also in the same industry or kind of in the same field, so you can talk and you can generate ideas. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are some good points too. If anybody else wants to jump on camera, just raise your hand. One of the big reasons this is important in professions like yours, and what I've noticed, is that women may struggle to retain their professional designation if they take long caregiving leaves, right? Women tend to lose $1 million over the lifetime compared to men because we have different caregiving patterns and career peaks and career valleys compared to men, right? Women tend to stay out of the workforce for what I believe is 40% of the working lives compared to men. Women live longer and retire earlier. So that has huge impacts on every single aspect of your career. And what I've noticed too, working in STEM circles, is that there are few opportunities for women to get training to maintain the professional designations during their maternity leave, which is a gap that we fill with our training company, right? So people can get their some professional development credits. So it's important to be strategic about it. Everybody at the table has worked so hard to get their degrees. Nobody has prepared you for how strategic you're going to be to maintain your professional designation, which is the 30 by 30, right? So that's one of the reasons. I will show you, you'll see some details. This is my life plan. It's a playbook. I have a 25-year vision that looks at all the buckets of my life, right? What I want my kids to say about me, it's kind of blurred, you'll see on my chest, but what I want my marriage to look like, what's going to be my contribution in my career, what my net worth will be, what does career integration look like for me with my personal life? How do I feel? The back of my book is how I want to feel. What I notice in the STEM world is that we're so good at reaching goals, we forget how we want to feel in the process. So you hit that milestone, you preserve your professional designation, but you feel terrible. 5 minutes after celebrating it, right? So this book has about 40 pages. There's detailed timetables, there's 5-year seasons, there's cash flow projections for different seasons of life and caregiving. There's what's the most important at every season of life, right? So I might be able to flip through depending on the time we have, but now my husband and I really know what we want. And on a day where our children are sick, we have principles. It's not just me taking the time off. He does it with me as well, right? One of the principles, for example, we had is that if they're sick on a Monday or Friday, he's on duty. Tuesdays and Thursdays are mine, and Wednesdays are a coin toss depending on who has the most non-negotiable stuff. So I had a conversation with an engineer this week who was missing a lot of time of work with a sick child. And, we asked, well, on average, how many days off do you think you're going to take? How many days off is your partner going to take? If the partner takes 0 and the mother takes everything, who's going to experience more tension at work? Right? So there's not right or wrong answer, but you have to be strategic about it. So preserving mother's career capital is one of the big reasons to have a dual career plan, allowing both partners to flourish professionally and designing the type of lifestyle that you want. That can be a benefit, right? You spend so much time planning your finances. What about your career and your family and life satisfaction, the impact you want to make in the world? So let's now, in terms of our learning objectives, I want you to understand the key components of a dual career plan and a parenting success plan. There's long-term considerations, there's medium-term considerations, and there's short-term. All right. So that long-term consideration is that 25-year vision. In a nutshell, I do this exercise in much more depth. But in 25 years, what are you going to remember about your life as a working parent? I love to ask the question through the eyes of your children. What will your children say? Mom, you were a great working mom because. Dad, you were a great working dad because. Caregiver, you were a fantastic caregiver to me because. That really puts things in perspective. So I take a 25-year vision, then I break them down in 5-year plans, and I write a key season. My husband and I are very excited about the golden years in our children's lives. We want them to be years of camping and exploring nature. And we would like to go abroad for a year for him to teach and for our children to see the world and learn new languages. So that's in our career plan. And it aligns with when our mortgage is going to reach a certain place and our HELOC is going to be a certain amount, right? I put it all on a sheet of paper. It's really exciting. So if you're a professional who needs to maintain a professional designation, think of the seasons where you might be taking caregiving breaks and how are you going to protect your career capital, right? And preserve that hard-earned PN. Preserve it, right? It increases your earning power. So think about the key themes from financial to health, right? To date nights, to career life integration. What does that look like and feel like for you? All of that, write that down, right? I could just wait a moment to mute. Thank you so much. So that is the long term, the big picture, the big vision. That's what keeps me going. I like to share a story, a really vulnerable story about just over a year ago, my father passed away suddenly. And within a week, my grandma passed away. And then within half a year, my godfather passed away. It really made me think long and hard about what I valued in this life. We don't know how much time we have guaranteed on this earth. So what kept me going during that time? My 25-year vision and my values of faith. I have them visible at all times. That should be part of your career plan too, knowing what your values are. So that's the big picture. Then in the medium term, and I will post a resource in the chat, get together with your partner and define what type of dual career couple are you. There's a great article in Harvard Business Review. Being a 2-career couple requires a long-term plan. So they give models. I know that all of you like data and models, right? Oh, that doesn't allow me to, let me see, copy the link. So there are different types of sets. There's the classic power couple, right? There's the parallelograms where your careers might be similar. There's ones that you have a lead career and a follow career. And when you look at the 25-year big picture, are you going to give each partner an equal chance to flourish professionally? What are you going to do if a partner is asked to travel abroad all the time? Is there always going to be a follower? Are you going to take turns being leaders and caregivers? That big picture of 25 years, and then those 5-year seasons can help you set intentions. Of course, you might modify them based on life events, but at least you're going to have a blueprint. right? So that's a really great article to get started. When I ask you about your action items, I would encourage you to book a time in your calendar to discuss this with your partner. That can be the entry point into the discussion. And then you can systematize it. One of the reasons I love working with engineers is because you systematize everything. So systematize the quarterly dual career planning date night and make sure you're focused and you're having fun, and your kids shouldn't be at that date. Okay, if you have kids, they shouldn't be there. Find a way. So those are the medium-term considerations. Then the short-term considerations would be, what are the key variables that will impact your career and financial income outcomes, right? So there are variables. I can tell you that cash flow planning for maternity leaves is quite complicated. I really struggled with my first. With my second, it was better because there's so many tax implications and top-ups and insurance things. So you can never start planning too early. And depending on where you are in your stage of life, think about the variables that will impact your career and financial outcomes, and manage your assets in a way that you can secure a more stable cash flow and build stability for your family. One thing we do in the MoMBA program, we've brought in a financial planner who's a woman who helps us build wealth across 7 pillars that is way beyond RSPs, RESPs, and TFSAs. We think broadly, and we think as women, because most financial calculators are designed by men and for men, right? So we have to take a step back and look, what do we need as women to succeed? So for example, those variables could be a parental leave. It could be multiple leaves. It could be caregiving leaves. And I will say sick days. That's a big one. Build it into your plan, because the first years you have your children, you will be likely taking a lot of time off. So be pragmatic about it. Have a plan as a couple and have good conversations with your manager. When COVID hit and I was building my business, my husband went to his boss and said, this year, I'm going to be taking all my personal time off. I'm going to be taking a lot of sick days. And his boss said, you know what, thank you for giving me a heads up. I understand you're in the season of having young children. He came home and he said, Kinia, I am so relieved. Now it's out on the table. It's clear. I'm not going to feel like I'm hiding or run away. We know that's the theme for the year. And we felt so much more at peace, right? So, you know, what variables might affect your professional designation and your career capital? Are there risks to one of the partner's income? Have you strategized on how to offset those risks through the right investment, through the right spousal RSPs, splitting leaves? Some companies that I work with are amazing at encouraging fathers to take leaves, right? And creating role models. Days off, plan them in advance. And one of the key things that we talk about in short-term considerations is who carries the mental load in the family. Our MoMBA participants, again, 80% engineers, we did a spreadsheet with all the data points of all the emotional labor, the domestic labor, and the mental load that it takes to run a household. Can anybody take a guess how many data points this spreadsheet had? Come on, type them in the comments. There's probably Zoom fatigue. I wish I saw more faces on camera, but you got it. It was about 100 data points, exactly. So there you go. It was about 100 data points. So when you are managing 2 careers, you're reading my mind, right? What am I saying next? But yes, 100 data points. And so being ruthless about what doesn't align with your 25-year vision and your vision of joy and happiness, or whatever you design as your core desired feelings, is critical. So being able to split the mental load. My husband's name is the one on the kindergarten form. He's the one that day home calls when the kids are sick. He's the one registering our kids for school and going on the teacher's portal. It's his responsibility. If he drops the ball, he's going to carry the consequences, right? So it takes a lot of that planning, where we have to surrender as mothers certain things so that the other caregiver can pick that up, right? So those are some of the short-term considerations. Now, is there anything I'm missing? I would love to see in the chat. I used to dig through tons of data and articles. I still do, but actually I have a framework, and I love to hear what people come up with as ideas. So am I, with everything I've mentioned, the long-term, medium-term, and short-term, are there any blind spots? And you're thinking, you're listening to this, Kinia, but you totally forgot about this engineering thing that you have no idea about. So this is the time where we brainstorm together. What other considerations in long-term, medium-term, and short-term would you like to see families plan for, so that you can both flourish personally and professionally? I'll give you a moment. If I've covered everything, that's wonderful, but I'm sure there's always more to uncover. Yes, absolutely. Coordinating parental leaves. Absolutely. So I think that is on my list. I will actually paste them, but coordinating them. There was a story in our community about, yes, traveling work. We can add that to the list. Absolutely. Oh, I'm hearing my son's footsteps, my perfect coordination of putting him to nap before my 2 sessions. So he might give me a hug here, right? Just a moment, sorry.
Session.
Okay, so I am in the process of you can absolutely give me a hug. I'm in the process of negotiating with my sweet son. Okay, so I'm sure that none of you are surprised by the scene, right? This has been the scene of the last 2 years. And yeah, so this is yesterday. My son was at home and my husband was able to coordinate coming home for half of the day, right? So I could do some very, very important work. And he's I will be with you in a moment, Yashu. What as I set him up, I would like you to write down your next 3 steps with your family, okay? And that I can set up my son with a glass of water and something to take care of him. So I encourage you to write down dates of 4 discussions that you plan to have with your partner, maybe 1 quarterly. Okay, the first one could be with that Harvard Business Review article, and you can start talking about it. Those are usually beautiful discussions. And if you realize that you are struggling, then perhaps there's a values disalignment. One of the main things I see with my clients, if they're struggling, is because them and their spouse or their partner may have different values. So it might help to do a values assessment together. And if there's no overlap, I highly recommend some couples therapy. I'm not being cheeky here, but we do this a lot in our community, is if there's a lot of values that don't align, that's going to reflect in your parenting and career planning, right? So just treat it as data and then see how you can harmonize your values. 2, we have another session with Apega in October where I'll be doing dual career planning for a 2-hour session. So that could be something you come to do together on October 27th. A third session together could be to plan your big picture, like do a 25-year vision together. You know, you can do a medium-term plan, a 5-year plan, and then you could do a short-term plan. That's either a year or even on a monthly, seasonal, quarterly basis. So I will give you 3 minutes to write that down. I will give my son some water and his snack, and then I will be back. And please let me know, give us thumbs up. This is probably one of the most important things to do, is that you can take action. Okay, so let's do that. And also I think, Marianne, if there are some questions, that's going to be a good time probably to do. And then I'll be able to finally go to the short-term planning that I will probably need 5 to 7 minutes for. So see you in 2 minutes. Please do the writing, put some dates in your calendar. Okay, so I hope that you have all chosen at least 1 or 2 dates in your calendar. I can't overemphasize the importance of taking that theory and turning it into practice. Get talking, get planning. I will share my screen and you will see probably in the background too a glimpse of my 25-year vision, right? So this is the template I use with my clients on a 25-year dual career plan. What are the components? Well, we have, first of all, 5-year windows, and then I write my age at the start of the period, my work position and employer, my salary, and then the partners, the same, right? we write down where we live, and then the age of the child at the start of the period and the caregiving situation. Are they at home? Are they in part-time care and full-time care, at school, in pre or after school care, and summer camps? I grew up in Quebec, which has some of the most affordable childcare in Canada. Being in Alberta, having 2 kids, often childcare can be, more than your mortgage, right? So we like to plan that into our cash flow and remind ourselves that it's temporary. And with some good tax planning, a lot of that can be offset, right? So those are considerations for the quality of life indicators that we look at, right? So you see that. Then we also consider the ages of our parents. Many people are caught off guard by caregiving duties for their parents. And I want to think about, having lost my father especially, I really want to maximize the time we have with my mother, with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. And so planning for when they might be aging is really important. We know that illnesses like dementia, right, or other illnesses can also impact your career and your quality of life. So having a timeline where we see everybody's ages and milestones can be really helpful. There's a whole section where I think about caregiving needs from us. That's going to be time, money, and energy, and reflecting on how caregiving duties will impact my and my partner's career outcomes in this season. Any special considerations around children's needs in this season, right? Like teenagers, there was a huge debate between Anne-Marie Slaughter and Sheryl Sandberg about women being able to have it all. Anne-Marie Slaughter was really high up in the White House. Her husband was the lead caregiver for her children. And she had to quit her job. She decided to quit her job because as teenagers, her kids really needed her. She decided that it was just systematically not possible to be the mother she wanted to be, right? So think about seasons in your life where you might be able to push the gas on your career and where you will want to be more present in your family life. And, we have typically, if we're blessed with many years in this life, you can do both, but you have to be conscious of when you won't be able to do 80-hour work weeks and when you're going to want to be closer to home, especially in this province. There are a lot of fly in, fly out partners as well. So you want to consider where you want to do that and where you don't, right? And then comments about any significant large financial responsibilities in this season. It's such a relief to see in your cash flow when you're going to stop paying for childcare. It just takes this big weight off your chest and you think, wow, we can afford life again, right? So that's really nice to see visually. What else do we have here? Okay, so that's the duplication. Other questions. This is from a book called What Color is Your Parachute? When you're thinking about career success and fulfillment, it's not just your position and your salary, but it's your working condition, the people you want to work with, what you can do and love to do in a certain season of your life, right? Your favorite field of knowledge, your favorite places to live. Lots of you will be called and have to, because of your company's demands, travel countries. I've seen some families who have a child who has special health needs, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel so exotic to travel to another country to work. So that brings up big questions. If your spouse is called for a shift 4 years abroad, how are you going to make sure that it doesn't impact your family's health needs, for example, right? Things that we don't often think about when you think about globe trotting. I think if you plan enough in advance, you can always find solutions, but you have to be strategic. So again, this is from a book called What Color is Your Parachute? And doing that with your partner and realizing, if you have if one person in the couple wants to do an MBA and another one would love to work in the Seychelles, you can have seasonality. So doing that timeline over 25 years can help you think, well, one day our kids are going to be out of the nest. Maybe that's the time where we have like our second wind in our career, right? So that's really helpful. And is there anything else? Is there more? That is still the flower exercise in different seasons. I wrote also family milestones and other considerations affecting quality of life. So this is a topic we don't often talk about publicly, but women have different hormonal cycles than men do. It used to be taboo to talk about that. But when we talk about productivity and creativity, women go through menopause, women go through child-rearing years, women go through infertility and miscarriages and then show up at work the day after losing a baby and we don't talk about it, right? So that affects a lot. And it shouldn't be taboo. We should be able to talk about these things. And we can also, I mean, we could also plan our schedules a little bit more if we know our bodies better. And also if our male allies or different gendered allies understand that women's biology is really affected by having children, right? And some women are afraid of disclosing pregnancies because they don't want to be mommy tracked. There are often safety issues, but that's why I encourage you to think about that. I've had people reach menopause and say, gosh, when that happened, I felt like doing nothing. Maybe that's not the time you're going to be the most driven in your career. I'm not an expert on the season of life, but be strategic and think that these moments can come, and build the support systems and knowledge to encourage that transition from so many perspectives and a holistic support system. I will reemphasize again, I was extremely surprised to see how many losses women have faced on their journey to becoming mothers, right? And it can affect their mood. It can affect how they feel. And many people will just put a smile on and do what they need to do. But know that likely if you're in a room with women of childbearing years, there's a good chance that somebody has experienced a big loss and they won't bring it up at work ever, but they are grieving, right? So just being sensitive to those specific variables that shape women's careers differently can help you be a better ally for them, and can also help you plan. Know that life is full of life, and it's also full of loss, and it affects our perspective on productivity and the impact we want to make in our values. And it can help you experience life more fully if you know that, right? I forgot to bring up my Mentimeter, so maybe we can. I would have liked to do this at the beginning. Marianne, can you help me out with this one? What do we do? I'm always a little bit. I know I can't use the poll probably myself.
Absolutely. So we have a poll that we would like everybody to fill out. So the link is here. I will put it on the chat box. If you click the link, it will send you to a poll. It's about maybe a minute to fill out. And if it asks for a poll number, the poll number is just directly under here. So let us know in the chat if you're having problems. Otherwise, it will take about 30 seconds to fill out.
I'm seeing responses coming in. And the last answer, at risk of one person losing career capital, right? So is there a risk for somebody in your partnership because they are going to go on leaves? Is their PNG at risk? I know, women who have taken leaves and they have a hard time getting their PNG reinstated, for example, especially with multiple children and longer absences. So that's something to mitigate. Yeah, good. I hope everybody I don't know how many people we have in this room, but I would definitely love to see more answers. I'm going to see the chat. Oh, perfect. So don't be shy.
Just while we're waiting, I just wanted to comment. I really liked how you started off with the vision at the end. I think it's called Memento Mori, and how your personal life played into that. I think that's really important, because we always get caught up in the moment. We're trying to live day by day. But starting with the end in mind, that's really key. So that's great to know.
The 25-year vision is my most powerful tool. That's where I would love to be. That's where we honeymooned with my husband. I would love to be in Croatia in 25 years. And, with our kids telling us that they remember us being joyful, resilient parents that help them reach their full potential, who are patient, who help them fail and succeed, right? So if you can be intentional about that, it shapes your interactions even on days like this. When I was new at juggling kids being sick at home, I would be much less patient and frustrated and thinking, gosh, I'm not going to get things done. Now I use these as an opportunity to human better and to teach my kids how to navigate unexpected circumstances, right? Every single day with a child is an opportunity for us to be a better parent, a better professional. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, we could go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I see a question here that we might want to address.
Absolutely.
So Cecilia asks, what about parents or families who are not in Canada? Do you have any advice for single parenthood and balancing that with your career as well? And Cecilia,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, I would say two things: be strategic, and then there's tactical advice. I want to acknowledge that this is challenging. I've worked with people who have that challenge. They don't have their families close by, and I really encourage you to have strategic how can I thoughts when possible. Think about the life you want to create and get creative about your support systems, neighbors, friends, people in your neighborhood, digital support systems, a virtual assistant. I've seen people getting so creative that they single parents living with another single parent and helping each other out, right? So if you come from the mindset of, I want a rich life and how can I make it happen? And these are the circumstances that need to support me, seeking out other single parents and strategizing together, using all the help that you can get. Remember that you asking for help, even of friends, neighbors, or community, is giving them an opportunity to do something good. A lot of people have mindset blocks around asking for help. So you have to get creative about how you build support systems, right? I know it's a short answer. It's not the easiest, but it starts with the question, what kind of life do I want to live? This is my reality as a single parent with no family in Canada. Where are my support systems? Where can I ask for help? What is available to me? How do I raise my kids to participate in the house? It doesn't address the whole complexity, but start with a vision of what success could look like for you. And know that there are seasons in life too. I've worked with single parents and I have some in my family that I've seen, and it forces them to be very creative, and they've done really beautiful things too with that. So I hope that helps. And I also hope that it doesn't reduce your challenges and your struggle in the way that I've described it. Okay. I don't know if there are any questions. If you want more questions, there's my last point about the short-term planning considerations that I can also paste, and choosing the appropriate planning tools for every season of life. So remember, if this feels like a lot of information, know that we were talking about big picture, medium term, short term, and starting your plan by having discussions and looking at the different variables that can impact your success, right? You have to start with a goal in mind. So in the short term, as I mentioned, booking times to discuss this, mapping out principles for when you have to take time off for sick children. So if you're a single parent, think about your village beyond your family. Think about your relationship with your boss too, and the work environment you want to choose. It is right now an employee's market. Employees have more leverage to go to companies that are more supportive of them. Let's remember that, right? And fill out the sentences. That's another one from Harvard Business Review. In the short term, you can answer the question, I am a parent who, I put my career first when, and I put my family first when. And that's just a simple question you can answer. You draw a line in the sand that can reduce your mental load when you have tough decisions to make, right? You just know that sometimes you say 100% yes to your family, and sometimes you'll say 100% yes to your career, and decide when that happens. Create an ebb and flow. Okay, so I am a parent who, I put my family first when, and I put my career first when. Okay, I think there are a couple more tools that I could share, but I know we are getting close to time right now. So if there are no questions, I would love to know what are your key takeaways and if the session resonated with you. This is a large room. I just did a whole workshop this week with a bunch of parents where we had a lot of discussion. What are you going to do? What's the action you're going to take after this workshop? If my words just stay words, then it will have been completely useless. So I would love to know what action you're going to take, what you found useful, and if there are any gaps too. If you feel like if I completely missed the point on something, then please let me know. I love engaging in dialogue. We run this together.
I've actually just had the kind of career planning conversations with my husband, as we both applied on the same job and we were both unsuccessful, which was really disheartening and disappointing. So we've kind of started those, but in light of kind of having a setback in my career, I'm really excited to kind of these thoughts about who I want to be as a parent to my kids, and kind of like when I'm prioritizing that, when they come first, and just kind of that really shook me about what I want my kids to say about me in 25 years is really, really shaking. It's kind of like, oh, you stop crying over spilled milk, lady. You got a bigger picture here. It really, really impacted me a lot. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, usually that brings boxes of Kleenex to the table. I appreciate that. And I know there's a reason why this happened. So I hope you turn this setback, what feels like a setback, into an opportunity. Okay, the rooms will be closing. I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak up if we have time. I'm happy. I'm going to post a couple of resources if you want to dig deeper into this in the chat. And then if there are any other comments, I think we're going to be kicked out in about 15 seconds. I don't know, if 8 seconds. I don't know if anybody's going to speak up. Oh, perfect. I'm seeing some comments here. Good. Starting to think.
Welcome back, everyone, from your breakouts. I hope you learned lots with Jason and with Kinia. And I get the pleasant job to announce the gift baskets. So the next set, courtesy from our sponsors, 2 names were randomly chosen from the registration list. And the winners are Mohit Mittal and Anna Lakasi. So Mohit and Anna, we will be pleased to mail you your baskets at the address that you use for registration. So congratulations, Mohit and Anna. You have baskets coming. We want to thank again our EDI ambassador for West 2022, Graham. Thank you, Graham, for the support, for sending us videos to share. Graham is looking for engineers and geoscientists, so now you know. Thank you to our EDI allies, Engineers Canada, Capital Power, and Enbridge. Thank you to our advocates, Associated Engineering, and the Brian Bold Engineering Group. And thank you to our supporters, ENYAC, PCL, Canada Action, and APEGA. We have lots of people supporting the mission of the Women in Engineering Summit. Please alert social media. Let them know how the session with Jason went, how the session with Kinia went, pretty much what happened today in your attendance of the summit. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Make sure you use the hashtag West 2022. At 2 o'clock, we will have our last education session. We have 2 speakers again. And then at 3 o'clock, we'll have the first of 2 panels. So 3 o'clock is the 30 by 30 panel, and at 4 o'clock is the EDI panel. EDI is Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So I'll send you on a quick break, and please come back at the top of the hour. The poll is already on your screen, so give us some feedback on how the lunch networking went, feedback on how the educational sessions went this afternoon, and then I'll see you back at 2 o'clock.
I think you should be able to turn off the recording just to save space, but if it's inconvenient, I guess we can keep it recording.